in mind will take in consideration the huge cost for the US, which a quote-unquote trade war would have.
Well, off the back of that story and the impending, well, maybe trade war, we will now want to discuss investment and exports in Africa to other nations. And with me in studio to do that, Hellen Rintari. She is the National Coordinator of Piga. This, of course, is the Partnership for Investment and Growth in Africa. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so first off, I want you to talk to us about this partnership, Piga, what exactly it is, and how it would start fitting into some of those conversations around exports and protectionism and that sort of thing. What exactly does Piga do?
Thank you so much. That is a very good question. Mm-hmm. So Piga is Partnership for Investment and Growth in Africa.
Yes.
And what Piga does is look at the existing environment in business. Mm-hmm. And what we do is try to increase FDIs in Africa. Mm-hmm. And so in Kenya, Piga is in 4 countries. We are in Ethiopia, Kenya, of course, Mozambique, and Zambia. Mm-hmm. So we do this because we are in partnership with, Piga is sponsored by DFID, that is Department for DFID.
International Development.
Yes, sorry. We have CCPIT and CADFAD.
Yes. So
coming together under ITC, we have Piga. And Piga looks in increasing investments outwards and towards China and the UK. Mm-hmm. So we do this by looking at the existing policies and try to inform them. We do this by doing trainings and increasing FDIs, going out and bringing companies that can partner with African companies and see where they come together, their likeness, and allow them to marry and make a kind of joint venture.
Yes. Looking at the whole of Africa, places like Kenya in particular, we have barely even begun to scratch the surface when we start talking about exports. For a lot of our nations, the balance of trade is heavily in favor of other countries. If you look at, for example, AGOA, just by itself, we have done very little to start to take advantage of this. Where are the challenges, do you think?
Yes, the main challenge is actually knowledge dissemination. Mm-hmm. We are not aware of how vast the market is. And so generally, Africans, we are producing for consumption, internal consumption, and we are not looking outward. So we are not aware of the market and of the challenges that the external markets have. Mm-hmm. For example, take China. China is looking outward because they no longer can produce enough for their own masses. Mm-hmm. And this is something that as Africa we could take advantage of, because Africa, we are virgin. We are literally unexploited. We have vast land. We have very conducive weather. We have all these things going for us. Mm-hmm. But because we are not aware, and when we produce, we look at our market for consumption. I produce for me and for my family and for my neighbor. And if I were to produce Kenya, we only are 49, 50 million people. If you look outward, we are in billions. And so there is market for us. We also are challenged when it comes to technology and technology transfer. Mm-hmm. We need to start getting out and benchmarking. And so Piga does this by taking SMEs in Kenya and taking them through series of trainings, and then take them out and benchmark them with their counterparts. Mm-hmm. We allow them to actually get technology transfer. And you see, technology comes in many ways. We have soft, which is I come and learn from you and I import you to come to my company. We also have hard, the hardware, where I come and get the machines that need to be used to motorize and mechanicize farming and light manufacturing. We have IT, because we have to understand that if we hope to look outward, we cannot leave IT behind. And we are not actually taking IT seriously when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to light manufacturing, where is the two areas that Piga is really looking into. Yes.
But with such a wide array of challenges across the entire value chain, so many problems, just how much of an impact can one organization such as yours have?
Well, you would like to say it's a drop in the ocean. No, it is not. Because you say, when you educate masses, like we are doing now, we plant a seed that it is possible.
Yes.
And there are a number of companies that have actually already come into Piga, and you can see the change. For example, we have companies that were doing piri-piri.
Yes.
And no one actually thought that piri-piri can be for export. But piri-piri is not enough, especially the red bullet, because it's what is now being used to replace the chemicals that were in makeup that would make it unfit. So all of a sudden, it's not enough in the country. And by bringing these companies, we have a lot of companies now in Embu and in the warm areas of Kenya taking up this, and it is serious business right now. So Piga is doing quite a lot, and it's it is actually useful. It's measurable. We have over 300 companies that have already done a benchmarking. Over the next 1 month, we have a series of trainings coming up. And in April, we take quite a number, 30 or so companies to China for benchmarking. And so when you do this, there is actually change, one step at a time. Piga spans for 4 years. So we will, by close of this year, we should be able to come back and give you more numbers. Yeah.
So when you say you're taking some of these organizations to China for benchmarking, what exactly will that entail? What do we expect that experience to be like? And what will be the benefits?
Good. When we say we are taking 30 companies to China, the process doesn't start in April.
Yes.
This has already begun. We send out a call for interest by companies, and we have a benchmark of these companies. You might want to know that the companies that we call SME in Africa and actually medium to higher companies in Africa and in Kenya is what we call a small company in China. So SMEs are really, really small compared to our counterparts in China and the UK. They are micro. But over the last 3 months, 4 months, we have had a call for paper, and we have looked into the companies that have applied to do this. We have a threshold in terms of who they employ and how many people. Our project is limited to agri-processing and light manufacturing, basically because we are matching them with companies in China. And the match that we know about China is they are good in construction and extraction, but we want to open this other agriculture and light manufacturing. So
I
what
want
happens...
to interrupt you there because I want to give us give our viewers a sort of a background, because a lot of the things that we would expect to be able to export to places like China, these include things like, well, everything from, as you said, pili-pili. We have other things, vegetables. We have mushrooms. We have cereals, and we have very, very many other types of crops.
Yes.
A lot of what we would then expect that would be things that we can package and take to China. What do you think should be the areas that we need to start to concentrate on?
Good. What I think we need to start concentrating on is actually foodstuff and dried foodstuffs. And when we say dried foodstuffs, we tend to limit ourselves to cereals. But China, for example, is lacking vegetables. And you can see we've started with vegetables and mangoes and fruits and all these things. So that is the way to go. The other thing to look at is packaging. We are trying to help our farmers to get the international standards. To be able to export, you've got to look at standards of packaging and the fertilizers that we use, the quality of soil and all these things. So these are the things that Piga project comes in and calls out to the farmers that we are working with and to the entrepreneurs that we are working with. We are not only limited to farming, of course, we have light manufacturing. And when light manufacturing, you cannot do value addition without light manufacturing, so they go hand in hand. When we talk avocados, for example, and extraction of oils, we do not have someone who's doing the complete up to the pure avocado oil. And so light manufacturing kicks in there. These are the kind of things that we're talking about.
In the past and in other economies, and I'll ask you to turn slightly so you face that camera. In the past, when we have looked at situations like this in different economies, we are told that these companies first became national champions because they grew internally, created a market of their product, and then started to sell it. Would that work in Africa, especially knowing that some of the things that we are talking about don't necessarily have a very large demand locally, but the demand abroad is very big?
No. And yes, I will start with no because some of these things are so obvious to us. For example, take avocados. You've grown up seeing them. They do not look impactful. But you and I know that we have a shortage of the fruit globally because of the extent of its use. Or when you look at flax and seed, when you look at piri-piri, so these things are so natural to us that we do not think that they make any economic impact. But when we bring in companies that are now outwardly looking and out there, we start to understand the value of these products go up. And so internally we start to understand, there's something in the market for this. And this market does not necessarily have to be internal because we have fed ourselves. We are almost sufficient.
My final question to you is about vocational training, skills. A lot of the things that we talk about, be it value addition, the light manufacturing, that sort of thing, at some levels, we really have a dearth of those sorts of skills. Where do we start to create this bridge?
Thank you. That is a question that is really need to be looked at. Because what we have done is that we have gone and taken all our children to white-collar jobs and to universities. And when we do that, we forget agriculture is actually some job. And a great job and a great employer, and our GDP lands in that. We look at things like light manufacturing. So we are starting to see the growth of TVET colleges, the technical and vocational training colleges. And what this is doing is that it is starting to create employment that we thought was blue, that was not white, that we are learning away from. But it is the kind of thing that is now going to spur our economy. The gap arose when we all thought to make a living, you have to have gone through university and you've got to sit behind the bank and by every respect intended, be a bank teller, be a teacher, be all these things.
And we know that can no longer be the case.
Of course, of course.
Indeed, thank you very much. We unfortunately have come to the end of our conversation. We have run out of time. An interesting conversation and one that we intend to have again sometime soon, especially after the trip to China.
Yes, and before I can go away, I must tell you that we keep looking for these companies and we keep recruiting. So it's important to go into our website and reach us there, the itc.org and /Piga. So there you will find us. You will be able to see how you can plug in. We are really seriously looking to work with companies, farmers, and entrepreneurs.
Indeed. Again, viewers, that email address is, of course, the website is the itc.org/Piga. You can, of course, reach out, check whether there is opportunity for you. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today for business here today. But of course, we'll be back tomorrow at the same time with more from the world of business. The news continues here on KTN News. Up next in just a few minutes is Mbiu with the news in Swahili. From us here in studio, it is Kwaheri, and we'll